Hello nature lovers. Today we're talking about the lion, cattle and farming conflict. About 2 weeks ago I was walking down the Gamorti with one of the local guides and we were chatting about various issues in nature, setting up a trail, etc. when we came across three men. One was carrying a shotgun, the other was carrying a rifle, and the other was carrying 3 or 4 guinea fowl which had been killed. So we confronted them, said to them, "What are you doing here? Are you poaching?" No, they said they're not poaching. So we said, "Okay, so what are you doing here?" "No, we're looking for our cattle," they said. The guide asked, "So do you know where your cattle are?" "No," they said, "we haven't found the cattle, but we hear that one of them was killed by a lion a day or so ago." So I intervened and I said, "Okay, 2 days ago there were cattle that came past and they moved south," and I indicated to them which way they had gone. And then I asked, "What do you intend to do when you find the cattle and or the lion? Do you intend to shoot the lion?" There was a silence. Our guide then switched to Setswana, and fortunately, although I've spent many years in the African bush, I don't really speak African languages, but I do understand what was going on. And this is where it gets really interesting. And the guide said to them, "Okay, so you're unhappy that one of your lion have been lost, one of your cattle have been lost to the lion?" "Yes," they said, "we're very unhappy about that and we want some sort of retribution." The guide said, "Okay, how long have you had cattle out in this area?" "Many years," they said, "we've got many cattle out in this area." And the guide asks, "Okay, and how often do you check on the cattle?" "No, perhaps weekly," they said. "Okay," he says. "Now when you're out here for these periods of time, what is it you eat? Do you perhaps catch buck, porcupine, aardvark? How do you sustain yourself?" In their language, these guys confessed. They said, "Yes, this is true. How else do you do it in the African bush?" The guide looked at them and he said, "Okay, we've been moving around this area for quite a while too, and we find there's a tremendous lack of small game where it should be abundant. Perhaps you should consider that you've eaten all the lion's food and now you're just not willing to share." Well, this made me thinking. And if you take a look at the greater scheme of Southern Africa and the problems we have with our wildlife, it sort of summed up that these issues that we have with elephant, with lion, with small game, with a plethora of species that have been eradicated at a huge rate, are all interlinked. They're not separate. And they're not separate issues. So I know that there are NGOs that focus on the confrontation with lion and cattle, and they do excellent work, as do the elephant conservation things. But underneath that, there's a huge amount of damage being done to the environment as a whole. There seems very little political will to do anything about it. Perhaps we need to change the way we get our votes. This is Stuart Bartman, considering the other side of the truth.